So in this session, we'll get to learn about cutting-edge carbon removal technologies. We have 3 innovative ventures that are in various stages of market readiness. They will be presenting their solutions. And facilitating this session is the brilliant Marian Krüger. Marian, take it away.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I'm Marian, one of the co-founders of Remove. We're a nonprofit. We run an accelerator program for European carbon removal startups and also engage in ecosystem building. Why do we do that? Well, carbon removal is a bit of a weird space to build a company in, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you typically develop a technology, but in carbon removal, there's no real buyer for that technology. You then have to take that technology to provide a service, which is taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and storing it durably. And there again, well, there is a bit of demand, but we all know that demand's insufficient and it's voluntary. But at the end of the road, the pot of gold is extremely big, as Jan Minks has shown very, very clearly. So it's that environment that entrepreneurs build a company in, and building a company itself, one has to be quite crazy to do that, if we're honest to ourselves. So that's why we exist, right? We're here to support those entrepreneurs on their pathways and build an ecosystem for them to tap into. We don't have a lot of time. Hence, I'm going to move over to the startups as well. They have 3 minutes, 30 seconds to present themselves. That's not a lot. That's also why we refrain from them presenting slides. It's really meant as a teaser for you to get an idea of what is happening on the, and I'm quoting Eli here, on the crazy side of carbon removal, right? And then for you to get an opportunity to follow up with them. We'll hear from 6 startups today, 3 right now, 3 in the afternoon, and we'll kick things off with a very concrete solution. You'll understand how cheap of a pun this is in a second with Maurice Bryson from Silicate. Please welcome Maurice to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a pleasure to be here. And so many cameras, I must lose some weight. You always say you gain weight when you're on camera, so listen to myself when I watch back on this. Hi, my name is Maurice Bryson. I'm the founder of Silicate. We're a carbon removal company, hence I guess why we're here. And we do enhanced weathering, but the big difference for us is we don't use olivine or basalt, the common rocks and minerals you've probably heard of. We use concrete. So yes, this crazy idea maybe is that we use concrete, but actually when you think about it, it isn't actually that crazy. So 3 big reasons why concrete is great for enhanced weathering. 1, it's hyper abundant. Look around you. Concrete is absolutely everywhere. So we make around, as a human population, around 30 billion tons of concrete each year. And between 1 and 4% of that is waste. It's returned. That's what we use to remove CO2. Second big reason why concrete is great for enhanced weathering is its weathering kinetics. It breaks down very, very quickly. So it means you can measure in the field the carbon you're removing. And that's a critical thing, which I'll come back to if I have some time, which I do, which is good. 3, the third big reason is it's always local. So it's abundant, there's lots of it, but it's always very close to where you want to spread it. And that's a big thing for your net removal. If you're removing lots of CO2, you've got to factor in the trucks driving there, etc. And concrete is so local, you never have to truck it that far to get onto your fields. So the measurement thing, this is what I want to come back to. So we're obsessed with the science of enhanced weathering, and how this whole thing began was my background as a farmer. I worked on farms for years, grew up on a farm, approaching Professor Frank McDermott in University College Dublin, who did work on basalt weathering. And I asked him, could we use concrete to do enhanced weathering? He said, yes, I think it'll work really well on paper. Let's figure it out. So we did a trial on a friend's farm in Wexford, the south of Ireland in 2021. And that was the beginning. It was a 1 hectare plot, controlled and amended, lysimeters, the works, everything. We learned a lot from that, and that paper will be coming out in the next few months. So please have a look at that when it comes out. That has led us on to do much bigger work. So we keep measuring what we do. So we're spreading now, going from kind of tens of tons to thousands of tons of returned concrete. We mill it to a dust, apply it to fields. It breaks down, it changes pH. That's what farmers really want, is the change in pH, and that's what we give them. And then we measure what's happening. So we're measuring across a suite of different things to have a mass balance approach. Because ultimately, enhanced weathering, maybe it's a crazy idea, maybe concrete enhanced weathering is crazy, but it works, and we've proven this. And to build trust in what we do, and enhanced weathering and in carbon removal, because it is kind of invisible, we have to prove it with science. So we're measuring across the solid, which is measuring soil samples, the aqueous, so we're measuring the water, you're getting in the soil waters, and also the gas. So we're seeing how much CO2 is fluxing from the soil to the air. And you should see, on paper, fewer CO2 molecules fluxing from the soil where you've added material. That's what we're looking to see with our experiments. So that's what we do. We're based in Ireland primarily, so from humble beginnings of kind of 10 tons, 1 hectare plots. Now we're at hundreds of tons or thousands of tons, hundreds of hectares in Ireland. Now we're going further afield to the US. So much exciting things to come in the future, and it's been a privilege being here. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Maurice. We're now moving from Ireland to Berlin, from existing materials, returned concrete, to existing infrastructure with René Haas from NeoCarbon. Please welcome René to the stage.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you all that you allow me to be here. I'm René from NeoCarbon. We capture carbon at scale with cooling towers. So 1.5 years ago, my co-founder and I sat together and asked ourselves, what can we do to help direct air capture to scale? Like, what does it take? And first of all, of course, we need to cut the price. Like, it's way too high price, and we need to cut it for the absorption, so getting the CO2 in the unit, but also for the desorption, so remove it from your chemical. And the third thing you need is you need to massively scale it, meaning you need to grow 50 times faster than the average economy. And now the question is how to do this. And our approach is to use existing infrastructure in the form of cooling towers. You know probably the big ones from the nuclear power plants. But there are millions even smaller out there that you can use. They have already a very big airflow, which means you basically get the absorption kind of for free. But they also evaporate a lot of heat. So actually the owners pay to get rid of their heat. But instead, we could use this heat to remove the CO2 from our chemical, so really cut the energy costs of our installations. And third of all, we are working in already industrial regions, meaning we enable the existing players and not building something on the green field where already engineers are, roads are, big industrial halls are. So not against them, but more like enabling them becoming part of the solution. This is where we started 1.5 years ago. We then convinced 3 big VCs to place a bet at this stage. It was a deck, it was nothing more. From there on, we scaled the team to now a bit more than 10 people, mostly scientists and engineers. And we built already 3 product iterations. Now we are in the really last assembly days of the 3rd version. It's quite a big machine, like 2 meter high, 2 meter long, and 1 meter wide. Can capture several tons per year, based in our lab in Berlin. And by the end of this year, we want to install it at a customer to really get those field tests in as well. And what would really help us would also be business traction. So we now worked a lot on developing the technology, and now it's really finding buyers that are convinced that this can work and that enable us to show also to our investors for the next funding, hey, someone want to buy this and someone want to help this to scale. Thank you all.
Thanks, René. And for the last one, in this first session, we'll move to the Netherlands, actually to the beautiful shores of the North Sea, to one of the open systems that Eli mentioned, into the ocean, with Ruben Brands from CO2. Ruben, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marian, and thank you, Carbon Future, for organizing this great event. And thanks for having me, such a great audience already. We are CO2. I co-founded the company with 2 other co-founders, David Vermaas, he's a professor at the Delft University of Technology, and PhD Roger Rivian. I'm Ruben Brands, I'm the CEO of the company. So we're working on carbon removal from our oceans. 24% of the CO2 out there is in our oceans. That's due to the inorganic CO2 is dissolving in our seawaters. There's 150 times more CO2 in a liter of water than a liter of air. That's good to know. And we use the balance to between the air and the water to extract CO2 from the atmosphere indirectly via our oceans. We work on an electrochemical approach on carbon capture. We have a bipolar membrane stack that we use to get that CO2 out of the seawater. You can compare it with adding vinegar to cola. The pop bubbles up and evaporates. You don't want to add a lot of vinegar to the ocean, so we're not doing that. So we are creating with our bipolar membrane stack an acid side and a more base side. we use the acid side to extract the CO2 from the bigger water stream that we get into our system. And so I said, so we give it back to the ocean, a little bit with a higher pH, and then the CO2 will get back from the atmosphere into the ocean. We've proven our technology on a 100 square centimeter scale, so the membranes are 100 square centimeters. We're scaling up our technology quite fast in the size of membranes, the number of membranes behind each other, and also the water flow through our system. So we're scaling up fast. We also filed for a patent in conjunction with our partner TU Delft. We're scaling up fast, so we have a prototype that is proven in our lab scale, or on a lab scale. Last month, we relocated our prototype next to the seashore. We're removing 1 ton a year. It's only 1 ton, but it is something, right? We are talking to many companies to store that 1 ton or to utilize that 1 ton. And we're scaling up, and we're already designing and building our pilot plant, and we will deploy that at the end of this year. That has a yearly capacity of 250 tons, so that is a begin. We can scale up to kiloton in 2025. We think we can scale up to megaton in 2028, and we have the big ambition to capture carbon from the ocean in gigaton scale in 2035 already. The key advantages of our technology, only 3. I only have 20 seconds. 3 key advantages. So we can integrate carbon capture and utilization quite easily with our electrochemical stack to convert the CO2 that we capture into synthetic fuels. We can switch on and off our system quite easily in a matter of seconds. So we can be a load balancer on the electricity grid. We use the ocean surface as a big absorbent. And so we eliminate making use of chemical absorbents as well. Next to that, it's good to know that we are searching for companies, and we talk to everybody that wants to help us out for raising public and private funding, of course, getting sufficient supply of green electricity. We have to get the MRV storyline straight, so we really want to talk to Carbon Future about that as well. Yeah, and next to that, last month, we signed a deal with Legi, a software company from Switzerland. They want to offset their carbon emissions of 2021 and 2022 with us. So we signed a deal, a pre-purchase agreement already for 25K, and that is our first client. Yeah, almost. Please, if you want to partner up for our challenges, please find me during the lunch break. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruben. Yeah, just a bit. But perfect segue. So if you see any of the startups out there, please talk to them, if only to congratulate them on great presentations here. These were 3 out of the 60 we've worked with since 2021. Another 3 will follow. And now over to Hannes.